we can only make limited explanations because of those resources that we have. But number 6 says this, therefore P3 is not a conception derived from the natural world. No number of meaningful experiences from this world can direct one at all to conceive of the possibility of something beyond it. Something that is beyond merciful, that is beyond powerful, that has something beyond our limited conception of intelligence. Okay? We cannot make an analogy whatsoever. So when we conceive of something, we believe in something, and we call this a doxastic attitude, meaning belief attitude. In philosophy, doxastic means it means like a belief attitude. Okay, so the only way you can actually believe something is if you actually have some sort of understanding. Okay, so it has to be meaning. It has to mean something. It has to have some sort of conception. Okay, so if the natural world is the only thing that can provide that, then how is it that we're thinking of something beyond it?
Brainwashing.
Brainwashing? But who started the brainwashing?
Parents.
How did they learn about it?
The society.
How did the community society learn about it?
Goes back to the...
So the first person, how did they figure it out?
Evolution.
How did evolution do it?
I just say...
But there's a limited number of resources. How did evolution, an unguided process apparently, determine that somebody believed in something beyond itself?
So it's fitra?
Fitra, bingo. What? He said fitra. It's good. Yes, it's basically the fitra. But more importantly, the argument is not just saying fitra God. No, it's not saying that. It's not saying that at all. Okay, it's saying that the natural world itself is limited. It is impossible. It is literally inconceivable. It is contradictory to be able to conceive of something beyond its own, beyond limitations. If you have a certain amount of ink or a certain amount of in this marker, right? There's a point in time I'm going to run out. But I would never conceive that I can make limitless amounts of this on the wall, okay? Unless you're a 4-year-old, which then is like, all over the place, you know? Okay? But there's no possibility for me to conceive of that. I understand limitation, I understand limitlessness. But what is limitlessness? I live in a limited world. How do I understand what that means? How do I even conceive of the possibility of that existing? That there is something beyond it? It doesn't make any sense. I look out into the universe, I see a couple of stars. There is no rationale behind me conceiving that there's something beyond those stars. There's absolutely no rational justification whatsoever.
They define it as a infinity.
Infinity. But you know, even if I said, an atheist may respond and say, that's hyperbole. Maybe you're just believing because it's hyperbole. But hyperbole means exaggerated language. Right? When I say, oh, this thing is, I'm super rich, I'm infinitely rich, you know, it's an exaggeration, right? It means that I have unlimited, but even I know that I have limited. So I can't really say that. But when I talk about God, I mean it. How is that possible? Is it just language? But if it's just language, language is used for explanation. Language has meaning. If I just said, blah, 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 to you right now, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. I don't even know what I'm saying. There's no content. There's no structure to it. But if I tell you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond merciful, beyond gracious. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Infinity?
To infinity? Do you understand to some degree what I'm saying? Do you understand?
It's unmeasurable.
It's unmeasurable.
Unimaginable.
But you can't fully grasp it. In Islam, we understand this, that the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are relative to us to a degree. That means that we can't fully grasp them. However, they will say that you can understand. You can. There is a level of conception where you understand that there is something beyond that is limitless. That what we do is nothing compared to what he does. Right? We understand that, and it's very normal. We don't have some sort of like, you know, contradiction in our head. It doesn't bother us. It's something that's very simple to understand. Does that make sense? So what I'm asking with the atheist is, how is it possible? If you tell me the natural world is all that can offer me meaning explanation, how is it possible that I see beyond it? Can't. So, man, the reason this is also an effective argument too, and I'm going to bring this up, and the reason I brought up unicorns before this, and flying spaghetti monsters and things like this, is because atheists will typically say that your belief in God is just like believing in unicorns. You have no evidence. But then I will respond and say, unicorns and God are completely different things. A unicorn is a horse with a horn in its head. God has no horn, he's no horse. He's nothing in this world. So do not tell me that he's the same as a unicorn.
Using wrong analogy.
Wrong analogy. It's an improper analogy. It's what we call actually a category error. Category.
Basically, you're saying unicorn is human imagination of mixing up things.
It's a composite.
Whereas God
Mhm.
is unimaginable,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't derive anything. So you can compare it.
It's impossible.
What is human imagination
Mhm.
within our limits?
One is beyond imagination, but yet we understand it.
Is that what you're saying?
Essentially. But let me give you another thing. Okay, so if the unicorn is a horn and a horse, right? Is it empirically verifiable? Meaning that I've seen a horn, right? And I can see a horse. So I would expect that if unicorns exist, I would find a horse with a horn on its head, right? So I can say with certainty that they don't.
So Richard Dawkins in one of the debate
Mhm.
talk about Burak. How do you use this argument against
Burak?
the flying horse?
Oh, the flying horse. This is where we get into specifics of religion. Okay, this is where we get into specifics. Okay, in regards to Islam, there are certain things that we don't question. And the reason we don't question them is not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to close our minds. Okay, it's because He's asking us to trust something else. He's not asking us to trust that okay, I can prove Islam to you, or I can prove my power to you because I have a flying horse here. Okay, that's actually irrelevant to the story, by the way. You know, the whole concept of the flying horse flying up to heaven with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's completely irrelevant to the story. It happened, okay. But Allah is not saying anything beyond the fact that it's some sort of fact, all right, according to His power. We don't believe in Islam because of that. We believe in Islam because of the Quran. We believe in Islam because of our fitrah attached to that as well. The actual evidence for Islam is the Quran. And we're going to get into that a little later, actually, in regards to how the Quran is misused in this day and age and how it should be used against non-believers in regards to da'wah. Okay? Remember the ayah of the Quran that says, strive against the disbelievers with all your might using this Quran? Remember? That ayah by itself proves that the only evidence we need to strive against the kuffar is the Quran. Now, in regards to God's existence, the only reason I came up with this argument was to go against people who I consider to be stubborn. Because in my personal view, there is no such thing as an atheist. In my personal opinion, everyone has a fitrah. And if they deny the fitrah, they're denying themselves. They're just sort of, what they're doing is they're pushing it down. They're just sort of, what we call it, what is it called? A cognitive dissonance in psychology.
What do you call it?
Cognitive dissonance. It's a very big term, but what it basically means is that I know something is true, but I'm going to put it to the side because it makes me uncomfortable.
Cognitive what?
Dissonance. So it's dissonance. So this is not to be insulting to atheists, but this is just what I basically believe regarding, because I believe everyone has a fitrah, that's it. I'm not saying it to insult anyone. I'm just saying if you don't believe in God, then you're holding it back. That's what I'm trying to say. So when I constructed this argument, I had that in mind. So my purpose for the argument was not to prove gods exist, because I already believe that, and I believe everyone already believes that. My purpose for shooting this argument was to destroy their argument, so they had no choice but to go to the other side. That's it. So all I said was I use your reasoning. You tell me that the natural world is all I can use for meaning and explanation. If that's the case, then I shouldn't believe in God. But because I believe in God, that means you're wrong. That's it. So in the next, oh wow, we're beyond time. Wow, okay. In the next session, inshallah, I hope to discuss the conception of the Quran as being a scientific miracle and why that's wrong. And we should not be doing that based on our understanding of science and based on what the Quran really is. Okay? I will also discuss maybe an additional argument for God's existence. And after that, we will have a question and answer session. And then we can prepare for tomorrow. Okay? So in the meantime, I guess we'll take a break.